You're actually not.
Screen says otherwise.
Okay, says we are live. Later than wanted it to be. Making sure they can hear us. Yep. Time to share it. Your phone's making your face red. Hopefully OBS and YouTube work like it did last time. Shared. Check. Says stream health is excellent. Okay. Let's mess with this lighting a little bit. We both look red-faced. Helps it a little bit.
I think it's just me that looks red-faced. Because the light's not hitting me. It's because I'm behind you. That's why. Your head is what is...
Okay. Please excuse the whoever does come in. Please excuse the quality of everything looks right now. We are not finished with the room. We are still in the construction stages, I think you'd say. So we kind of just randomly got a light going, and yeah. Personally, I hate these ring lights, but we exactly don't have room right now for our good lights. What? Oh, it's Paris. Can't believe that acrylic sold out that fast. If it's not a glitch, that is. It's gonna wait a few minutes, see if...
There's a few things on there that says that you could buy it, and it tells you sold out when you get to it. Because there was some other things for $1 I was going for, and they don't say sold out, and get to the checkout, and they are.
So for people who watch later, the reason why we're doing this so late, like it's after 10 o'clock at night now, my speakers decided to give us trouble, like at the last minute. So
volumes are so bad.
So Brittany says. Mm-hmm. Well, there's not much I can do about that right now, because my speakers decided to give us trouble. Let me listen to it off my phone.
I can barely hear either of us. Is it because the mic's way above us?
Well, in recent videos, I've been keeping it out of frame because it looks better. But you talk like a chipmunk, so, or a mouse. Hello, hello, hello. Sounds fine to me off
She says a little better. I asked if it was better.
It sounds fine to me off the phone. Now I've got to worry about this being in my way when I look at stuff. Seems like it always waits until you've got something planned to go bad. We need to get your mic stand and all that.
That's what she was just saying.
Though the thing
We
is,
can't do that till we move things.
though the thing is, I don't really know how to set up two mics so that
Google. I don't know. That's the only answer I have is Google.
Yeah, because like I have no idea how to set up two mics where I won't be picked up by yours and you won't be like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to set that up. I know a lot of people do it. Yeah, sounds fine to me.
It's me, I think, now that she can't hear, but I'm right in front of the mic.
You need to talk louder. Alrighty. Move this over just a tad so I can see how long. Alrighty. Don't want to wait too long because we already got started late as it is. If people file in after we start, that'll just have to be how it is. We need to start planning, like putting out like we would have been on a little bit better time if it hadn't been for the speakers. Okay. Well, people are liking it and sharing it on Twitter, so we will see how things go. The only thing that sucks is you can't really plan for people being late or something like that. And I've realized this. Looking at it on YouTube, it's so slow to let you know how many viewers you got, because so there's like including me on my phone, so there's only 2 watching when we at least know Brittany's watching and we know Paris is watching. I didn't even bother naming these images. I'm gonna forget what is which. And they might cover one of us when I first pop them up.
It's gonna cover me every time.
Yeah, probably. So I'll have to fix them as we pop them up. Let's give it a couple more minutes. Let me oh, it is already pinned. Alrighty. Okay, so we've been live for 10 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and start. It's a good thing about these, once they get put on the channel, if people miss the beginning of it, they can just watch it from the beginning. It's not going to be like an extremely long stream. This isn't going to be like a 3 or 4 hour stream. We don't have the time. Because Jess originally was off work yesterday, but she agreed to go
Tomorrow.
in. Yeah, tomorrow. So you've not been on camera in a while. You've not been in a video for a long time. Any updates or anything you want to share with anyone that you'd want to? Apologize that you've not been showing up for videos.
I've been doing everything else.
Okay. Alright, so today is March 25th, 2024. It is the 1 year anniversary of RWBY Volume 9, Chapter 6, Confessions Within Cumulonimbus Clouds, which of course makes Bumbleby being canon 1 year old. Yay! So, of course, we announced the intention to do this stream like the moment that our channel got green lit to do streams. Well, work got in the way, and I just never, like, something would come up, or we just didn't have time to really get everything put together. Probably don't have everything put together as well as it should, but hey, we're still new to this streaming thing. So we've got our chat, we've got notifications, though we haven't set up super chats or anything like that
I'm
yet.
working on it. I haven't had the time.
Well, this is only like the third time I've been able to stream actually using YouTube and using OBS, because last few times I couldn't get it to work. Last time I streamed it worked, so hopefully it works this time. Okay, so what we're going to cover is as much as we can. Now, of course, we couldn't find everything. Like, I couldn't find a picture for every single moment. But we're not going to cover every small moment. You know, we're not going to cover every single time Blake and Yang looked at each other, you know. We, of course, couldn't find every stream that the girls have done. We couldn't find every panel they've done. Really, we're just going to be pulling those from memory. And I don't really even know what most of the conventions were called. I just remember about around what volume they came out, that the panel took place. So yes, we're going to be going from concept and stuff before the show. Then we'll cover the soundtracks real quick, because I'm worried that if I try to cover soundtracks as we cover the show, I'll forget, because I tend to ramble a little bit. So yeah, we'll go ahead and go through volumes 1 through 9 soundtracks. We'll talk a little bit about the comics, because I couldn't find pictures for the comics, because every time you would type in RWBY comics, I would get fan art or fan comics, not the actual panels from the comics themselves. And the same thing goes for the mangas. Now, the only manga we will not be covering is the one that the one that was only 3 volumes long. The ones that only covered volumes 1 through 2, where they completely ignored burning the candle and they turned Blake into a trophy for Sun at the dance. So we will be ignoring that one. Here recently, though, I've kind of thought about buying them just to have them. But, okay. That look tells me no.
It was never said that they were canon.
I know, but, like, I don't know. Like, just the way they done things in that manga, like, they completely ignored Yang's character arc. Like...
And that's what I'm saying. It's not. Anyways.
Yeah. So, we won't be covering that one, but we'll cover a few things that happened in the RWBY anthologies. Now, the other manga, it was just called RWBY the manga. It's got the red cover. I remember when you bought it. I don't think anything Bumblebee related really happened in that one, because wasn't it basically a retelling of the trailers and them coming to
I think
Beacon.
it's, you know how long it's been since I've looked at that?
Well, we can't look at it now because it's all packed away. Alrighty. So we might as well start. So, like I said, if you're late, you guys can just go back to the beginning. Alright, so concepts. So right away, we know who Blake and Yang are based off of. We know that Yang is based off Goldilocks, and we know that... See, when I first joined the RWBY fandom, I was just told that Blake was just based off Belle. Now, recently it's become more of a... She's based off both because she's a Faunus and stuff like that. But as the show went on, as the story with Adam, of course, developed, people started realizing that even though Yang is based off Goldilocks, really the only thing they've done with Goldilocks and Yang is her fighting the three Ursas in Volume 1, you know, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and Volume 5. Not too heavy, not too light. I'm just right. Yeah, again, I'm good. You know, that I always thought that was a cool little thing they did there. That was a cool nod to Goldilocks. But we started to realize, and I think it was popular before then, but Volume 6 is really where it started, and that was Yang is actually in the role of Belle and Beast as well in the Bumblebee story. Now we went over that in our RWBY Fairy Tale Theories video we never did bring that back, and we said we'd bring it back.
We never said when because we were waiting for more things. So.
Yeah. But yeah, go back and watch that video if you want the host spiel on Blake, Yang, and Adam, and the parallels to Beauty and the Beast. So right away, looking at early concept art. Now I'll have to move these pictures around because I just placed them randomly when I was getting ready. So yeah, Jess is covered. Let me move this over just a tad bit. You can see a little bit still. Alright, so in Yang's early concept art, not much was different. Like, for one, her scarf definitely changed colors. And she at one time had a scarf, and many people have drawn that to Blake's concept art, where she had two different colored eyes. And the thing is, the two different colored eyes that she has, they kind of match the colors of the scarf. Because Blake already has amber eyes, and her other eye was going to be a bluish light color, and that's what turns out the color of Yang's scarf was originally going to be. It was not really amber, but, you know, an orange to bluish kind of thing. Now, you could already draw a parallel here, but you ever think it would have been interesting if they had kept these original designs?
I mean, we would have a sleeveless version for Yang.
Yeah, but I had that. You would have to wear garters for Blake all the time, and these really long boots that go over the knees. But what I find the most interesting, now I'm going to delete these as we go. That way I can remember where I left off, because there's quite a few of these. So, when the RWBY book came out, the
companion book?
Yeah, the companion book, we learned a small bit. We learned that Monty based, really, the personalities of the girls off the voice actors. But the thing is, the only one he didn't know very well was Aaron. And Aaron is stated to have said that they were like, that Monty was like, you and Blake will just have to figure each other out. So, because, you know, Aaron is definitely not like Blake in the early seasons, I don't think. I mean, Aaron has her moments, but I don't think she was ever the loner type, in a way. So that led me to wonder along, like, for the longest time, did Aaron really ever have a say in where Blake's character went? Now, of course, we now know that Bumblebee was always planned, so it probably doesn't matter.
No, but the personality, they obviously each one has their personality and takes into how they perform, how they put out that character. So, I mean, that's what gives the character more life.
Yeah, and you know, I really wish they would release, like, what was Monty's thought process on not only wanting two of the main girls to fall in love with each other, but how it came about being Blake and Yang. And my point of view is it's the Beauty and the Beast story. Like, it's gotta be.
It makes sense because I mean, there's the fairy tales within RWBY.
Yeah, because you know, we just had, you know, Volume 9 was completely about Alice in Wonderland. That's exactly what the Ever After was based off of. And you know, it just makes sense with even throwing Adam in. You know, Adam is the version of the prince who never learned his lesson, but he's also the cursed rose. And he's definitely also Gaston. I remember someone once said, Gaston wasn't in the original story, so they definitely base the version of the fairy tale from like almost every version. Like, I think I've caught some stuff in RWBY where it's like they got that from the Disney version of that fairy tale. So moving on. So, of course, this brings us to that famous live stream before RWBY ever aired, where where Aaron did not know they were recording because live streams were scuffed back then. As Arnold said, I don't really know what he means. I didn't really watch that many live streams back in that day. And Aaron says played out, can I say that my character and another character are lesbian lovers? And Miles goes, absolutely not. And you hear Carrie very faintly say, not yet. And you know, that clip was used for years. And I remember after Bumblebee became canon, and Aaron brought this up in that Always Open episode. I was like, you know what? I seem to remember a couple of years ago, she came out and said, I really didn't know anything back then. I was just saying stuff to say stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, you were trying to cover your tracks because, yeah. So really, as far as Bumblebee goes, that's really all we had before the show actually aired. Now, of course, you have people who were, you know, Black and Yellow, you know, they were already shipping the two characters before we even saw anything. Now, we're going to move on to the soundtracks now. So, Volume 1, technically, in a lot of people's view, has two references to Bumblebee. Now, one song is, of course, not exactly, it's more of a RWBY song, of course, and that's Red Like Roses. Now, of course, we all know the opening lines of Red Like Roses. The first little sentence is about RWBY. The next one is about Weiss. The differences, though, is that RWBY's part and Weiss's part are completely isolated to their characters. And I was even crazy enough back in the day to listen to them and like count the seconds in between. There's like 4 or 5 seconds in between both parts, where Blake and Yang's parts, Black the Beast descends from shadows, Yellow Beauty burns gold, actually finish each other, or like you could cup them together, and there's like 1 second between Blake's part and Yang's part. So I have always believed that those two parts, Blake's and Yang's parts, were always supposed to be seen as a single thing. Now we have the Volume 1 finale song, which is Wings. Now, a lot of people seem to think that this is a Weiss song. because it talks about searching for Blake and stuff like that. But as the years went on, people started to realize that this song also relates a lot to Yang because of all the bird motifs in it, but because of her and Raven and all that. Also the fact that Yang was also searching for Blake, but then you also have the fact that an instrumental version of this song is played when they reunite at the end of Volume 5. So I will always say Wings is a Bumblebee song. It's a light Bumblebee song. I just don't think a lot of people think about it because Volume 1 is Yangless in a lot of parts. But it's kind of funny that they would throw that in that early in the show's life. So after that, I don't think we got a Bumblebee song until I don't think there was one in Volume 2, and I don't think there was one in Volume 3. Then we have Volume 4. Now, even though it is a Yang song, we have Armed and Ready, which of course has her talking about racing to her side. There's nothing she wouldn't do for her, and how her mind keeps replaying that scene. And I've never understood why people thought she was talking about Ruby when I guess I kind of get it because that's where she's heading at the end of Volume 4 is to look for Ruby. But the thing is, Armed and Ready is about Yang recovering from that night at the end of Volume 3. It has, that storyline has nothing to do with Ruby. So, I remember it was either during or after Volume 6. Casey was asking, Casey had posted something. And I had said something along the lines of, pretty much that line was about Blake, right? And she liked it. Didn't comment on it, but I always took that as confirmation. But really, if you listen to the lyrics, if you really apply it to what is going on for that storyline, that line is definitely about Blake and the night that that Yang lost her arm. Then, of course, we have BMB. Did I spell that right? I'm not even going to try. But the song Bumblebee. Now, boy, did this not cause controversy when it first came out. There was people legit saying that it was about the bike and Yang was in love with her motorcycle. And then, of course, you had Aaron who meant well, but I think this is really where she started avoiding talking about certain things with the fandom because, and to me, really, this song has one of the weirdest stories I have ever heard because it makes no sense. And that's Aaron came out and said the song, or someone did, that the song was not approved by Ruby, so should not be seen as canon. And I'm just how does a song make it onto a soundtrack without being approved?
It wouldn't.
To me, that made no sense. I'm what? How? How did it make it onto the final print? How did it make it onto the CD? It's how does that happen? And so I've always seen it as, once again, them covering their butts. Now, of course, with this song, people have always said, if the song is not played in the show, it's not a canon song. I think that's a fan-made-up thing. I don't know. Because the lyrics of this song really feed into what actually happened with their confession.
Yeah, it kind of did.
So, I don't know about that. I don't know about the whole, it wasn't approved. So then we got to volume 5, where technically it's a Yang song. It is technically a Yang song, but she is she is talking to it's her talking to Blake pretty much, or singing about Blake, and that's all that matters. Now, of course, when this song first came out, a lot of people thought it was about Raven, which I mean I could see that, but I don't know about some of the lyrics that's said about it being about Yang saying some of these things to her mom. But
Yeah, it don't make sense to me. So
yeah, so and Casey did confirm that yes, Yang, like the one singing is Yang, and that she is talking about Blake. Then we get the big one, Volume 6, with Nevermore. Now, I remember when the song played in the ending credits. Usually, when a RWBY song hits the ending credits, it's hard to discern the lyrics sometimes. It's way easier to go back and listen to it when the actual lyrics are released. And I remember people saying they thought it was about Ozpin and Salem, and I'm like, there's two female vocalists. Neither of those is Oz, you know, and stuff like that. And as you hear the lyrics, it is literally Blake and Yang talking about Adam and moving on and things like that. And I mean, that's exactly what happened. I mean, there's not much else to talk about it.
no.
Volume 7, and probably the greatest one of the greatest tragedies in Volume 7 is us not getting to see Blake and Yang go to the club. But there is a particular song on Volume 7 called Celebrate. Now, a little bit of the beginning of the song is played during Robin's political rally, but I'm sorry. If you listen to this song, it's not the type of song for a political rally.
No.
Like it literally sounds like you're going out to the club to dance. And I want to believe that there was originally going to be a scene of Blake and Yang at the club dancing and Team Funky being there and all that, and it just didn't make the cut, but the song did. I'll always be heartbroken over that. Then we get to Volume 8 and Treasure. Now, of course, people still debate what this song's meaning is, but I really do think this is a Blake to Yang song. Like, this is Blake's answer to all that matters. Because even though there was other characters in that scene when this song plays, they focused on Blake and Yang the most in that whole entire thing. There's not much else. We're not going. This was never meant to be a lyrics analysis. We did that during the soundtracks. So, moving on. Then we get to Volume 9 with Worthy. What else can we say about this song? It's part 2 to Bumbleby from Volume 4. It's the official love song of Blake and Yang.
And we have a whole video on it. So.
Yeah. We just wanted to cover it for timeline purposes. The RWBY comics. Now, talking about the original RWBY comics that came out, that take place around Volume 4, Volume 5, that are canon, no matter what anyone says, they were confirmed to be canon. I remember that the one, I forgot her name, but the one that was writing it, I believe she is an LGBTQ writer. She wrote for Batwoman. I remember that. There's not much else I remember though, but I remember for like a press release for the comics. She was talking about how the comics would cover stories that happened in the show, but we didn't get to see them. And she said the burgeoning feelings between Blake and Yang at Beacon. And I had to look up what that word meant because I had never heard it. And apparently it's another word for growing. So that right there got me excited. And then when that issue finally came out, I can't remember if it was issue number 3 or 4. But it was pretty much Yang at home, still suffering from the trauma of losing her arm. but she has a book, I believe it's The Man with Two Souls, that Blake had given her, and all these memories flood into Yang's mind. There was her losing her arm, Blake getting stabbed. Apparently, there was a time where Yang had done Blake's hair. And of course, there was a picture of Blake and Yang with their hands going like this. So I was like, oh crap, did something happen between Blake and Yang at Beacon and we just didn't know about it?
I mean,
you know?
It's possible. We don't know.
And throughout the comic, it's Yang getting a little bit in a better headspace, because at the beginning of it, she throws the book away in frustration and all that. And then at the end of it, she's got a towel on her head. She just took a shower or a bath, and she's like, let's try this again. And she starts reading the book. And I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was pretty much Yang saying, hopefully one day that kind of ending, or that happy ending, can be ours. And I was like, oh boy, they're really pushing with this. Then of course we have Blake, who is back home. Her and her mom go fishing. Apparently there is an old story of a faunus who fell in love with a human. And the thing is, when you read the comic, both faunus and human are bolded out, unlike the rest of the text. So I was like, oh, interesting. This is where the whole Blake and Yang are reincarnated lovers came from. And of course, at the beginning of it, the sunflower pop.
Which cat. I still have those necklaces.
Commissioned today. But she throws it away because, she ran away. She's sad, she's upset, so she throws the bottle cap away. So later, when they've cooked that big fish and they're about to eat it, Blake's like, oh, something's in my food. And at first she thinks it's the bottle cap. It's the freaking wedding ring from, I'm guessing, the faunus and the human story. And in the comic, she's wearing it, but we never have seen her wear it in the show. So I'm like, is Blake just holding on to a wedding ring for right now? I don't know.
I mean, a jewelry box?
And then, of course, we have the Justice League comics. The first run, you have Aquaman flirting with Blake, and Yang gets all jealous and pissy about it. Then the second comic, there's no, it's the same comic. No, I think, yeah. I've only read those comics once all the way through. So, but it's simple things like Blake saying, "Hey, Yang," and Yang winking at her and stuff like that. Then you have the second one, where really I think the only thing that really happens is that it's very apparent that Blake and Yang have crushes on Catwoman. And two, there is a part where Blake gets upset, and Yang caresses her face and holds her. It's like in any continuity, these two end up crazy about each other. Before we move on to the actual show, because I don't think I found the picture for it, but I'm going to go ahead and cover Arrowfell real quick. And long story short, there's not much of Blake and Yang interactions in Arrowfell. There is one part where after they've been ambushed, they've jumped off a train, and Blake starts laughing at something off screen. And of course, hearing Blake laugh, Yang looks at her, and at first she's just looking at Blake smiling, because it's the whole, she loves to hear Blake laugh. But then Yang realizes what Blake is laughing at and starts laughing herself, and it's poor Ruby head first into the snow, kicking her feet like this. I guess the only other thing I'll cover is the Blake and Mikasa fight in Death Battle. Now, of course, this all happened way after Volume 1, but I'm covering all the extra stuff first. And it happened very early in the video, where they did what a character likes and dislikes when they do like their tail of the tape kind of thing, and like the height and weight and all that. And under likes, it was reading, tuna, yang. So everybody had a fit over that. All right, Volume 1. So, like I said, we're not going to go into too great a detail because we've already went into great detail about these a long time ago. But once again, this is the history, so we have got to go bit by bit. So you've got to really start off where Blake and Yang first met. So I wanted to focus on this right here real quick because if you watch Yang's expressions, like even this early in Volume 1, when they hear Blake light her candle, Yang looks over and develops a smirk on her face. And like, it's very apparent that Yang is intrigued right away. That's why Yang's like, you know her? You know, and she starts looking in between Blake and Ruby, and you can tell the thoughts in her head is like, I want to say hi to this girl. Come on, Ruby, I'll introduce you. Because, well, I mean, really, if you look at Blake in that scene, like, I'm sorry, the black pajamas, like, the way, like, that definitely show off her legs that I really just realized. Blake has always been an attractive character, so I don't blame Yang here whatsoever. Now, of course, things don't go too well. Yang kind of strikes out a little bit, like she always does. But obviously, something Yang did intrigued Blake. Because, now, of course, we forgot to talk about the RWBY anthologies. But that's a great segue into it. The anthologies show that the reason why... Now, of course, I gotta preface this real quick. There's been a lot of debate if they're canon or not. I remember someone saying a long time ago that Carrie and Miles both said that they're canon as long as they don't contradict the show. Of course, there are a few stories in there that obviously did not happen. They're like world-breaking, they didn't happen. But some of them could have definitely happened during that time. So I really want to say that a few of those stories are canon. And one of them is that it's revealed that the reason why Blake followed Yang in the Emerald Forest was because Yang complimented her bow.
Yeah, I mean, it was said that they're canon until said otherwise.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, there's a few other stories in there of Blake wanting to train on her own, but Yang's like, hey, don't go training by yourself. And then Blake is like, after a bit of story, Blake's like, well, are you free to train on these days? And she's like, yeah, I'll get Ruby as well. And Blake's like, no, just you. And something else is said, and Yang's like, are you asking me out? So that right there told me a long time ago that Yang is not against dating girls, despite what others claimed. But yeah, for the Bumblebee stuff, it's definitely in Blake and Yang's volumes. Like there's one where they're following Yang on social media, and Blake is like kind of bummed because her and Yang had a lunch date or something and stuff like that. And what else? I've not read those in forever. There's one where Blake was apparently down, and so Yang is trying to create like a pun competition because she claims that Blake gets all the laughs. And it's really all just a setup for Yang to try and cheer Blake up. So, of course, this all leads to them becoming partners in the Emerald Forest. Now, apparently there was a different draft of this where Blake takes her weapon and places it towards Yang's throat, and Yang does a little, nervous chuckle, and people thought it was like more flirty than their original. Like, I don't know about that. Like, threatening someone with a blade is kind of, I don't know how flirty that is. But I think after that, there's not much else to talk about in Volume 1. Yang was not very involved in Volume 1, as I've said many times. Ruby, Weiss, and Blake got way more attention in this volume than Yang ever did. But, like, really, this is really the only parts where she is really, really involved, really. So we're going to move to Ice Queendom real quick, because Ice Queendom technically takes place around Volume 1 to the end of Volume 1 and before the events of Volume 2. So this one, I couldn't find the exact moment, but this is after Ruby, Blake, and Yang have come into, like, pretty much the dream world, and Blake says something about one of her ears being out, and Yang says how cute it is. Now, of course, it's going back to Volume 9, her confessing that she thinks Blake's ears are cute. I wanted to include that because I thought it was cute. Then you have this scene. I believe this is where Blake is coming up with the idea that the only way to take down this version of Weiss is to pretty much let the Nightmare Grimm take over, and Yang is against it, blah, blah, blah. But when Yang finally does agree and Blake lets it take over her, many have have pointed out that the thorns that come from the Grimm don't touch Yang. They go around her. So people thought, even going into a nightmare, Blake is trying to protect Yang, which is kind of cute. And then finally, of course, shortly after Blake is freed from the nightmare, they have this little moment. It's just cute. Like, it's really adorable. It's one of those moments that I wish was in the original show. Though technically we still have not seen Ice Queendom. We need to buy that.
Buy it. We have to buy it, but like, it's on streaming.
I know, but I want to have it physically.
I know that.
To
watch it, I meant.
We've got volumes 1 through 9 physically, and we can stream them. So Volume 2. So Volume 2 is finally where things really started kicking in. Now, oh boy, I can't remember if it was before Volume 2 or after Volume 2. But around this time is when, of course, Monty had that famous interview with BuzzFeed or whatever it's called, where he was asked, would there be any queer characters in RWBY? And he said, sure, absolutely. And he said the great thing about that is that maybe they're already there because they're kids. They still need to figure themselves out. They're still growing. He said when they write the characters, they think outside of their genders. But he says that they couldn't just shove it out there, that it needed to be earned, which he believed was the right way to do it. And I also think it was around this time where Aaron and Barbara really started pushing their love for the ship. Like, there's one live stream they did together where, someone mentioned, oh, we may do this for a Ruby and Weiss scene, or we might do this for a Blake and Yang scene. And after Blake and Yang scene was said, you can see Aaron in the back give a wink. But this right here, this was pretty much for a lot of people where Bumblebee became possible. Just the whole way the scene is shot, like the intimacy of it, the lighting, Yang telling someone who is not Ruby one of her most deep, I don't want to say secret, but, pretty much Yang has mother issues. And she applies the obsession she once had to find Raven onto the obsession that Blake has been showing over catching Roman Torchwick. Blake saying she's the only one that can do this and all that, and Yang's like, you don't understand, please take care of yourself, not just for you, but for us as well. I just noticed that Blake's hair clips through Yang's hair when they hug, but just everything about this, like even before this hug, Blake shields, like braces herself to be hit because she thinks Yang's going to hit her because that's what she's used to, but instead Yang hugs her. Then of course we have the old famous, if you feel like coming out tomorrow, I'll save you a dance, winks and walks away. And of course that leads us to the dance that we barely got to see. It seems like RWBY never wants to show us Blake and Yang fully dancing. And recently we got to see what the girls were originally supposed to wear. Now Yang's turning heads comment makes more sense. Because of the golden dress that she was supposed to wear. I'm guessing they just couldn't afford to do it. Like it would have been too hard at that time to make those dresses the way they were. But yeah, so Blake and Yang dance. And of course, Yang asked for a dance. She didn't ask for the first dance. But Blake still gave it to her. And she turned one head at the dance. And that was Blake's. Because after she laughs at what Sun says, her head turns and she looks right at Yang. So yeah, Volume 2, once again, not a lot. But enough to where people started shipping this hardcore. Now, of course, we get to Volume 3. Now, in my honest opinion, Volume 3 is probably the best of the Beacon arc in terms of animation, and the pacing is still slightly off. I felt like they tried to do too much with what they had, because it feels like a lot of, like, them having a fighting tournament, I think should have been more than just a few episodes. I think they should have, like, no one does tournaments like Dragon Ball does. Like, I just recently rewatched the first World Tournament they ever showed in original Dragon Ball, and it's so captivating. But they gave every match a full episode. Now, of course, RWBY couldn't do that at the time, but I wish we had more of the actual tournament. And then once the tournament's kind of wrapped up, well, not really wrapped up, once we get to the final, things just go downhill from there. But this scene is important because, for one, not only do we have Blake comparing Yang to Adam, who was her former partner and her former boyfriend, we've got Yang crying for the first time in the show. So, for someone like Yang to cry like this, it means that she's deeply hurt that Blake doesn't believe her. Now, of course, after Blake tells her story, and Yang finally looks her in the eyes and tells her that, hey, this is what I saw. I didn't do it just to be a dick, And that's all Blake needs. Now, the things that transpire after that, of course, Yang stays by herself in her room because she wants to be left alone. But then, of course, the events eventually lead to this. Now, for me, this, I think if you didn't think Bumblebee was going to happen at this point, this is what convinced you, because there's many things here. For one, all three of them are in the shot together. You've got Adam's whole "I'll destroy everything you love," starting with her, and Yang just shows up at that time. There was a lot of people who said it was coincidence. How does coincidence happen in a show that's written ahead of time? How does coincidence happen? It could have been anybody. Yeah, a cartoon character just came to life within the show, and it's like, oh, I need to hurry up and beat Yang there. But anyway, once again, for the second time in the show's the show's run, We have Yang crying because there are tears in her eyes as she attacks Adam. Though Yang is weakened at this time, she's fought in the tournament, and she's been fighting Grimm on the way here, so of course they make Adam look technically stronger than he really was, and cuts Yang's arm off. Of course, Blake uses her semblance to get away with Yang in tow. I still can't believe Adam fell for her semblance twice. And then, of course, we have this. Now, once again, framing is everything. There was a lot of people who still don't understand why Blake didn't end up with Sun, and this is one of the episodes that I think a lot of people ignored, and that's the fact that Sun looks at Blake holding Yang's hand, telling her she's sorry and crying. So, connecting Yang with Adam, and Adam being a former love interest, even though I already shipped Bumblebee before this sealed the deal to me. Whoops. That's my fault. I'm not used to it being here. I'm used to it being up here out of my way. So then we move to Volume 4. Now, of course, in Volume 4, the girls are separated. There is not much that you can really draw from it than just by stating the obvious. In the opening, we finally get to see Blake's parents, but quickly after this, Blake looks away as if she's got something on her mind, and it goes to Yang. Now, of course, you could say they're doing the title, the name of the RWBY. They're doing it in order, but the fact that that's what they chose to do, like zooming in on Blake's face and her looking away sadly, and it going to Yang, it kind of seems like, hey, they kind of did that on purpose. Once again, having to understand these characters without dialogue explaining things to you. Yang, traumatized, trying to recover from what happened to her. She's riddled with PTSD. She's sitting there sadly, and she looks over at a stack of books. Now, we all know Yang. Yang is smart, but she's not the reading type. Who would she know would be connected to books?
I mean, her bed was held up by books.
Yeah. So yes, this is pretty much them hinting that Yang is maybe pining for Blake, missing Blake. Then, of course, there are several things that are said during the events of Volume 4, especially Blake's whole, do you think I like being alone? Every day I think about them. Ruby, Weiss, Yang, and her voice cracking when she says Yang. But then we have this. Yang, fully recovered, heading out. Turns out she's on the same boat that Blake and Sun were on, and the name of that boat is Pride. You can't really get any more forward than that. Then, of course, you've got moments where the bisexual colors are following Blake around. Then, of course, we have Volume 5. Now, say what you want about Volume 5. But it is a very Yang-centric volume, which is why it's still to this day one of my favorites. And Alone Together probably did a lot for Bumblebee without them actually being on screen together. Now, of course, a lot of people were joking at this time, oh, Bumblebee's dead, all hell Freezer burn, because there was a lot of Freezer burn in this as well. But, Ruby, Weiss, Yang are all sitting around, they're having their coffees, though Ruby is pretty much drinking milk at the amount of cream and sugar that Weiss probably put in it. And, of course, Ruby brings up the B word. She says she wished Blake was there. And, of course, Yang gets, oh, we'll be fine. She could have been here if she just stuck around, Which, of course, she gets mad enough that her eyes turn red and she gets up and leaves. We pan into the room, and there she is looking at a picture of Team Ruby, and her thumb kind of caresses where Blake is. It's very subtle. You've really got to pay attention to it to see it. She hears someone come in. She expects it to be Ruby. No, it's Weiss, because really, Weiss can kind of relate to what Yang is going through, because let's face it, Weiss does not have the best home situation. Despite being an heiress, she knows what it's like to be alone. And then, of course, this is where we learn that Yang is not exactly angry at Blake. She just wants to know why. And she even said nobody blamed her for what happened. If she had just talked to us. Then, of course, she says those famous words. How can I be there for her if she doesn't let me? What if I needed her there for me? And she cries. And right after this scene, it cuts to a scene of Blake alone, definitely in thought. I really do believe she was thinking about Yang at this moment. Like, it seems too perfect for them to go from that, then switch this and that not be what's on Blake's mind.
I mean, it's fitting.
Yeah. So we get to our next part, and that being the reunion. Now, to me, Blake walking into a room of people she has not seen in how long, and no, she didn't know they were going to be there, but still, she looks around, and the one she picks out is Yang. And like I've always said, Yang has that look on her face that just screams, she came back.
Oh.
We've talked about this before.
My mind is everywhere, okay?
I'm going to say, you've barely talked this whole stream. But yeah, she has that look on her face. She came back. Unlike everyone else, Blake came back. Oh, crap.
Recovery or reconnection successful.
Yeah, but it was doing so well. You make sure it's still up. Yeah, it's still there. Let me check the stream health just to be sure. Yeah, excellent. Stream is healthy. Guess that's on you. I guess that's on OBS's part. But still, it relates to Beauty and the Beast. When Belle came back, you came back, and I kind of love it how, for this part, they solely focus on Blake and Yang. All That Matters starts playing, and Yang accepts her back. And then the long wait for Volume 6 began. Now, before Volume 6, Erin once again was doing an interview, and I forgot what she was asked. But she stumbles a little bit, but she's like, how should I answer this? And then she goes, everyone's in love with Blake. I'm starting to wonder. She goes, I think she names Yang first. She goes, Yang, Adam, Ilya, Sun. She's like, I'm just starting to learn that everybody loves Blake. So, I don't know if the fact that she included Yang, that blew up. The fact that she included Yang as part of 3 other characters who have definitely showed interest in Blake. So, take that for what you will. That's the only thing I remember happening either before or right when Volume 6 started.
I don't remember anything else.
Then this moment, of course, you've got little moments like the first chapter, good to see her not rusty, and Blake always keeping her eyes on Yang and stuff like that. But this moment is this broke the internet when this first happened. I remember getting on Tumblr. Somebody had posted this, and someone legit asked, "Is this real or is this an edit?" Now, sadly, this conversation does not go very well. Like, poor Blake, she's trying so hard, but she says the wrong thing. She says she'll protect Yang, and that just pisses Yang off. Because that's not the type of character Yang is. She's not the type to be protected. And that's something that that Blake did not understand at the time. But eventually, she does. Because then we have this.
We're protecting each other.
Yeah. And my gosh, we were at OhioCon when this episode aired. Like, I was so desperate to see this episode because we knew it was going to turn into Blake and Yang versus Adam. So we tried to watch it in the car in the garage. Could not get service whatsoever.
Yeah, we were going to actually hook it to the radio in the car so we could hear it. We ended up having to tuck away in a corner just inside from the garage.
Where there were still people being loud.
But we managed it, but we had to go and rewatch it again just so we could hear it louder later. But, we were at a con and for some reason didn't take Blake and Yang with us.
Well, did we?
We had them.
Oh, we did? Okay. Yeah.
I even had Blake at least, I think. But I know I had Yang too.
Fitted for you, not for me.
Well, the top would have fit you. We could have made you pants.
Because you made Yang for yourself first.
I had both Yangs at that time, so I had this one.
Anyway, this is the one you competed in.
I know, but I had it so it would have fit you. Remember, you wore that jacket.
Well, this was before we had the channel or anything like that, so we watched it on a phone, tucked away, and I don't know. It was such a powerful moment at that time. Like, the internet was crazy. But this is also where the famous tweet came from. They're not gay. Would lesbians have big boobs? And he posted a bikini shot of Yang. Oh, man. But, man, this is really where my Twitter career started. This is when I really started posting all the time on Twitter. Was when this volume was going on, back when I would argue.
Get involved.
Yeah, way too much. I quit doing that.
I'm glad, because I got tired of the damage control I had to do.
But the fact is that they even turned that into a print for Barbara and Aaron to sign at conventions, and I wanted it so bad. I'm
sure they still have it.
Let's also remember this is when Aaron started doing live reactions to RWBY episodes.
That I watched all the time. I downloaded that app just to watch it.
And so, of course, the next week, we got the first head touch. Like, promising Yang that she'll never leave again. Yang telling her she knows she won't. And then, of course, the hand on the side of the cheek.
I painted that on shoes.
But watching Aaron watch this episode, like, of course, you've got Adam, who is obviously jealous the entire fight. Him screaming, "What does she even see in you?" I screamed at that. Aaron was like, "Oh, he knows," and stuff like that. And, like, after this episode got done, Aaron was asking some questions. And she was asked, does this mean Blake and Yang are a couple or a thing? And she goes, "Look, it feels like it, doesn't it?" And she goes, "I don't think they're going to start dating right away, but they're starting to realize they have," I forgot exactly how she said it, but she said they're realizing that they have stronger feelings for each other than friendship. And that right there, I was done at that time. I was like, it's going to happen. It's happening.
Yeah, I've watched every one of those, especially leading up to this. And her watching what she says And you could carefully wording things that she has said.
Well, also after that episode, Barbara was on RWBY Rewind. Y'all remember RWBY Rewind? And she was asked, is this confirmation for one of the biggest ships in the series? And she goes, I don't know. Thing is, she wouldn't look up right away. You could tell that she was thinking.
Getting her, trying to get her bearings before she tried to give any emotions away.
And she says, some people will think that the fans had input on what happened, but all I'll say is some things were planned from the beginning. And we learned after Volume 9 that, yes, she was right.
She also, when she had said that, she kind of just went,
yeah.
They don't, pretty much just shutting down that fans don't have the input for especially major things. Like, we're not going to have any input on things that they create that is big. They might throw a little, thing in the background or something for the fan, but
like the Curious Cat bringing up Seal or whatever her name is, because Arnold has been asking for years, where is the girl that was with Penny?
Oh yeah,
where is she? Well, she was such a cool looking character. I'm sure they threw that in there for him, but
there are little things have been thrown in that have been said, but
nothing
not
that's story important.
No, nothing big and major will ever be controlled by fans.
But after Adam's gone, after the Grim thread is over, and we're on our way to Atlas, we have this cute little moment. Weiss saying, "I'm sorry you went through that, but at least Yang was there for you." We get our second handhold, and Yang says we were there for each other. Blake looks at her, smiles, and it was just, man, Volume 6 was a ride. Because the outrage this caused, people making petitions, make RWBY great again, just get rid of the Bumblebee ship, and that petition to this day is still up, and it's still not done anything, obviously.
If anything, it's the same couple people making new emails to contribute to that. Otherwise, there's nothing.
Now, after Volume 6, of course, I'm sure Aaron and Barbara were peppered with stuff everywhere, asking about it. I don't remember if it was before Volume 7, but I do remember there's stuff Aaron being asked, what do you hope for Blake's future and all that, and at one point she says, deep down, I just wish she would kiss Yang. And another thing, something about taking over the White Fang or something, and then one day just having a great life with her girlfriend or something like that.
Something like that.
There was something else that was said. I don't remember. I do know they were doing a live stream that Barbara was part of, and they brought up Blake and Yang, and she goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. They're just friends," and then just smugly takes a drink of a beer. You remember that one?
Yeah, because she kind of you could just see it in her face as she took the drink too. She kind of just, oh yeah.
Oh, also at RTX, will they kiss? Because they were doing what are they called? Haikus or whatever for the next volume. And Barbara was like, I can't think of anything. And then she goes, will they kiss? I had to do it. The whole place erupted. Aaron got up and stared down at Miles and Carrie. And
pretty much the answer.
And you could hear Miles go, don't do that. Then Carrie goes, me and Miles are going to stay stoic and say, watch the show. You will get no answers from this side of the table. And that reminds me, I'm glad I remembered that story. After Volume 6, Carrie was on RWBY Rewind, and he was straight out asked, so are Blake and Yang a couple? And you can tell for a split second he freezed.
But
he goes, you'll have to watch and find out. And of course they go, ah. And he said, would it be worth it for me to just say it? He goes, no. watch the show. He said it'll be way more impactful when it actually happens. Boy, was he right.
Well, if you've noticed, like, with all of them, whenever they were on some type of interview or, like, live stream or something, from the beginning of the show on, the further the volumes went, the more pauses and, calculating in your head, well, how do I need to word this to not say something? Like, it got harder and harder. So, like, but it started with just, like, Aaron and Barb, but then it passed to, like, Carrie and Eddie and all that. Like,
it's like,
they're kind of just like, well.
Well, it's like the Achievement Hunter gang. They were playing a game, and it was one of those first-person shooters or shooter games where you could mod and put in characters from other, shows and movies and all that. And they were literally using the Ruby girls. And I think it was Trevor, who we all know is Barbara's fiance. They were just dating at the time, but they're now engaged, was playing as Yang. And he goes like to snipe someone. He goes, and they're playing as Blake. And he goes, no, I can't. It's my love. It's Blake. And they're like, wait, what? You're in love with her? And then one of them said, oh, I don't really keep up with the fan fiction of... And you hear Michael, the voice of Son, come up and go, it's literally happening in the show. Like, okay, guys. I could have sworn there was something else that was said. Like, there were so many panels they went to. But anyway, going back to RTX. RTX created a lot of buzz because we got to see what the girls would look like in Atlas. So, of course, we get Blake with short hair. And we were all like, would it not be great if Yang complimented her hair or something like that happening? And, of course, it's one of those things where you're like, hey, it's never going to happen.
I beg to differ.
Volume 7, Chapter 3. Now, of course, before this, we had, the little protecting each other moment where they fought the Grimm at the beginning of Chapter 1. But this was one of our very first reactions.
The footsteps around make it even better, though.
Yes, so if you watch this scene very closely, first of all, while they're still listening to their scrolls, you can see Yang glance at Blake. So then, of course, it switches to Blake checking her scroll, and then she looks up. Yang has circled around, because you can see her footprints, and she is just... done. Like, if you freeze frame before she realizes she's been caught, she is like
just
daydreaming.
Yes.
Like big time. So of course she's like, sorry, and then she checks her nails on her prosthetic. Just not
sorry, but it makes it even better.
Just not used to the new hair yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, she got caught staring and she's panicking.
That is the definition of gay panic. And, like, right there.
And then, of course, we get Blake blushing, which people claim she was flushed because she was cold.
No, you can tell a significant difference in when they were walking from the cold to this.
Yeah, we
touched on that when we did our...
Yeah, you have to be outside in the cold for a good bit before your face starts flushing.
Unless you're me.
Not instant like this. But, she's like, and Blake's like, is it bad? And Yang's like, no, it's good. Great even. So, this was one of the best things ever. Like, at that point, I was like, oh man, if they are dancing around this, they're going to be in trouble. So then we get...
Was this before or after the little moment with Marrow? The fight moment. I was after.
The montage?
Yes.
I think... I've been after. Can't remember what episode that was.
No, because this leads into, like, the campaign.
yeah,
so it would have been before.
Was the whole campaign massacre before the whole montage? No, the montage was first, because this is their night off.
Yes.
Yeah, the montage was first.
It was like, there was a little moment, that was that one where Marrow, like, said about them separating, because that's what he was taught with the Aesops, and they kind of just make a point and look at him, pretty much, okay, never mind.
Well,
that was also the turning. Like, I think that was a very small, because I didn't show it much, but like a very small moment of Marrow seeing the difference.
Well, yeah. Well, it was to show off that hey, these two can.
They complement each other even from the beginning. But no,
Yeah.
it was just a funny moment. He's pretty much okay.
I had thought, I had thought about including that part, but I didn't want there to be too many pictures.
No, I figured we just mentioned that because I mean it was significant, but like just that moment and him just going pretty much okay. Never mind.
So yes, this is when they get a night off, and so for the first time we see one of the RWBY girls actually applying makeup. And I couldn't find the exact picture, but you know, you've got Yang in the background who is kind of checking Blake out in a way.
Just thinking, you could have asked me because I have all the screenshots.
Well, I wanted to.
I have all of them saved in a zip file.
Yeah, but every time I ask you to put something on the hard drive so I can transfer it, you scoff at me.
Well, no, it needs to be cleared off again.
But a lot of people have theorized that Blake sees Yang looking at her through the mirror. That's why she has the look that she does at the end. But anyway, we get the whole, you know, they're going out dancing with Team Funky, but let's be reasonable. Yang has no intention of hanging out with Team Funky because she doesn't care for them that much. But darn it, we never got to see it. You see Yang trying to help Blake learn how to dance, and it's like...
That's what I'm doing!
And I'm just like...
It's okay, Blake, I can't do it either.
So, moving on. This is after the campaign massacre and all that. Wait, what's this? Oh, that's something else. Wait, is it? Hold on. Forgot to delete a picture. Trying to clear these out so I don't have to do it later. Okay. So, to me, this scene was perfect in that it shows that if you know if you're two people who are close, you understand each other, you can disagree but come to an understanding. Because I wouldn't say Yang at first is all about following orders, but she really doesn't see any other reason not to. But Blake, of course, is like jumping a huntress who's just trying to do the right thing. Just doesn't feel right to me. And of course, they talk a little bit about Adam. And once again, Blake says, I just don't think it's something we should do. And Yang's like, well, maybe we shouldn't. And Blake kind of looks surprised that Yang is agreeing with her. Because, you know, she probably isn't used to having someone that would do that, would compromise with her. So I always liked this scene. It was finally a nice little time for them to actually talk alone, one-on-one together. I know a lot of people wanted more of a talk, but to me this was enough. Like, Yang fully understands why Blake ran, you know, and all that happened. There's really no need to talk about it anymore. Okay, so since it takes place during the events of Volume 7, we are going to move to the Justice League and RWBY movie, Part 1, where there's a lot of Bumblebee in it. This, of course... okay, so before this movie came out, it had already been...
Just leave it.
No, it's fine. It had been said at a panel, because Lindsay, Kara, Barbara, and Aaron were all at a convention when Volume 6 of Chapter 9 aired. So, of course, you know, they were Aaron was interviewed with Kara, and of course they were asked, what do you hope to see for your character in the future? And Aaron goes, I got what I wanted. Like, today is my day. I'm happy.
After 6.
After what?
9.
I said
I said Volume 6.
Well, they know what I mean. Quit correcting me. I'm messing with her. But what's funny is in that same interview, Kara says that she wants Weiss to find love. Which was interesting because what just happened in the show, but also Aaron goes, Blake found love. Blake found love, kind of rough, but we also learned during a panel, Barbara just comes out and says, I always wanted to voice a character that was thirsting over Wonder Woman. And then Aaron goes, watch it, you. And Barbara goes, my character's got a thing for dark-haired girls. What can I say? So we already knew then at some point Yang was going to get a little overwhelmed by Wonder Woman. So this happens after everyone's reunited. Yang does hug Blake when they see each other, and there's a fake Oscar, and Wonder Woman grabbed him by the shoulders and lifts him off his feet and puts him against the wall, saying, where's our friends? And Yang goes, whew, she is very strong. And Blake quickly is like, and? And Yang's like, it's just an observation. Like, Blake got straight up jealous. Something we've never seen her do. Then, of course, later, I didn't get a picture of it, but they're deciding what they're going to do, and Yang's like, I'll take Diana to Atlas. And you hear Blake go, me too! And then she gets a little embarrassed. It's like, Blake, honey, trust me, you've got nothing to worry about. And then, of course, we have this scene later where they're talking to Wonder Woman, and it's funny. Blake brings up that her and Yang didn't always get along. Now, I mean, to be fair, that lasted like, one episode? But she says, yeah, Yang and me at first didn't get along, but now they look at each other and they both blush. So, yeah. And then, of course, later, you've got Blake that's outside of the airship, and she tells Yang to flip the ship, and Yang's like, no, I don't want to do that. And Blake's like, trust me, and they do the whole hands through the glass thing. And then Blake does a flirty little thing where she talks about some days it's just good to kick ass, and she hip bumps Yang. Now we get into Volume 8. So, right away, Volume 8 does not start off well, just like how it doesn't end very well. And Yang decides, hey, screw this, I'm going to go help how I want to do it. And we get this sad little Blake that Yang's not sticking with him, because I'm guessing by this moment Blake has already decided that she is going to stick with Ruby. And the only reason why I pointed that out is that the next one, oh boy, Jean not being able to read the room. So this, of course, is Yang trying to fix at least one of their hover box because they're destroyed. And she goes, do you think she thinks less of me for not helping out with Amity? And of course, she's working on something that's purple. John's like, oh, Ruby's your sister. She's always going to love you, even if you disagree. And she's like, yeah, Ruby. So, yeah. Yang worried that Blake is going to think less of her. Whoops, forgot to delete some. Now, of course, this whole time, you can definitely tell that Blake is worried because she keeps on... Have you called Yang? Did you get a hold of Yang? Did you call Yang? Then eventually, I think Blake is just like, screw it. Calls Yang herself, and like her face just like lights up when she sees Yang. Then, of course, what was at that time one of the biggest moments for Bumblebee. I screamed. Everyone screamed. I think at that time it was our most watched reaction. The reunion. It's just between Yang cupping Blake's face, Yang blushing, which I don't think we've seen Yang blush much since before this episode. Them doing their head touch thing, them being in their own little world where nothing else exists. It was one of those moments where it's like, oh yeah, for sure, this is going somewhere. And then this happened. Now, for you and me, I don't think we took this as badly as others did because it was very apparent that Team RWBY was going to fall. I didn't know if I expected Yang to be the first one. But, yeah, this was pretty big. Like, everybody was, like, all upset and, like, thinking Yang was dead and all that. And I'm like, this is great. Think about what's going to what's going to happen when they reunite, you know? Because that's all what I was thinking about. But yeah, Erin had talked about her having to scream at some point, and everybody was looking for it. Like, when's Blake going to scream? What happens? We now know because Erin had to scream. It's a pretty loud scream. And as soon as she screams Yang's name, tears roll down her face. You know, it almost looks like she's trying to go herself, and Weiss stops her. And then Blake goes full feral mode on Neo. But of course,
she tried to throw Gamble too.
Yeah, she tried to. It was the one time she wasn't quick enough. And of course, RWBY, Blake, and Weiss all fall. Which finally gets us to Volume 9. And unlike the other volumes, I got every moment. Besides the handhold at the very end in the finale. I didn't think of that one for some reason.
It's for this though, it's the oof.
Yeah.
She gets you hear her running.
Yeah, you hear it, and Little sees her coming. Little's like, uh-oh.
Oh no.
But we were all wondering what was going to happen when Blake and Yang reunited after what happened in Volume 8. Like, is this when the kiss is going to be, you know? But apparently, originally, Yang was supposed to kiss Blake on the head here. But they cut it because they didn't want it to take away from the kiss in Chapter 6.
I like this more.
So, Yang shows up, her arm's gone. RWBY asks what happened. She's like, you won't believe me if I told you. Little's like, why? You seem trustworthy. Yang's in the middle of trying to ask RWBY what's with the talking mouse when all of a sudden you hear Blake running, and she full on football tackles Yang. Like, I don't see how it didn't knock Yang out.
Or at least the breath out of her, because she hit the ground.
But she's got her arms around Yang. She says Yang's name. Like, you can hear it. It's the relief that Yang is alive. Yang smiles, and they have a little cuddling session here on the ground while RWBY and Weiss look on.
They don't move for a while either.
But really, and if you listen to it, a little bit of Worthy plays in the background. Something we never thought we'd see. Not only Blake full-on laughing. Erin said it was hard to laugh as Blake, because Blake hadn't really laughed a whole lot, so she was like, how does Blake laugh?
Something that she needed to figure out.
But also seeing Blake being very flirty. Like, I don't know, like, a lot of people talk about Yang's look, like Yang's kind of almost like, oh God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Now, sadly, I couldn't find a picture of the hands.
I have that.
But look at Blake. She's walking like a schoolgirl in love. Her hands behind her back. She's leaned in. You know, they start flirting. They start doing that flirty pushing at each other. And then, of course, we get the whole how disarming scene. And like, when we first saw, we were like, the way Blake, like, how Erin delivered it, it was so flirtatious that it was like, come on, this is... Now, Blake and Yang have held hands before, but this was something different, to the point where even Weiss noticed it, and Weiss goes, it's about time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this was something else to live through. Then, of course, the next real major moment is, of course, while they're playing it's technically chess in a way, but it's not, I don't know. But anyway, you know, Yang does her turn. She hams it up. Blake gives her little clap. Yang turns around and gives her little cocky smile. Blake goes, and of course, Yang is cheering her on. And it's funny when when she thinks Yang can still see her, she just rolls her eyes. But when Yang can't see her face anymore, she gets this big bright blush on her face. Like, oh, Blake, you're more in love now, I think, than you ever were. Like, it was just, it's finally getting to see Blake act like herself, you know? Well, what we think might have been how she used to be. I think this is it. It is. So, still not midnight yet, so we still got time to talk about this part. Then we have Volume 9, Chapter 6. And as we said in our analysis, the writing was on the wall. Like, people were, do not get on the internet if you cannot watch this as it airs, because no amount of spoiler tagging will be able to save you. Later, like, Barbara didn't even say, like, none of them said anything about Bumblebee. But that night, when all that was coming out, the night before the episode aired, Bumblebee was trending.
Yeah, everything was quiet. No one said anything.
And it's like, people were talking about there being major Bumblebee moments every time there was, like, all the big ones were in Chapter 6. But I didn't want to give a lot of credence to that, because, like, I don't want to get my hopes up, and, you know, but, when we saw the title, like, when me and Jess were sitting down for the reaction, we didn't, you know, we had our balloons ready since, like, what, Volume 8?
Yeah, we had them ready for a while. We had to replace some of them, but...
And so we were sitting down, we didn't have our Bumblebee jackets on, and then we saw the title. Confessions Within Cumulonimbus Clouds.
Grab the jackets.
Yeah, just in case.
Grab the jackets.
And, like, it just all matched up. Like, during the trailers, when we saw Yang in that cloudy area, there was people joking, oh, I bet she's looking at Blake. And then we got another sneak peek where Blake was in the same area. She was in the clouds, and we were like, no way! What's going on? And, like, what can I say that we haven't already said about this scene? Like, even though I was screaming and panicking and hyperventilating, the build-up, like, hearing the music in the background, and as it grew, and as the clouds cleared and the weather changed, I was just like, I can still watch this scene and get choked up. And it's been a year. It has been a year since this episode aired. And I still get choked up. Like we talked about in our analysis, we did a celebration video. So there's not much else I can talk about this. It's just that I'll go ahead and say it. This is one of the greatest love confessions I've ever seen. Beautifully executed, and as much as we can complain about it taking 10 years of build-up, it goes back to what Monty said. It needed to be earned. And then, of course, we get, you know, Ruby and Weiss and them seeing them kiss, which was just perfect. I wanted them to see it. Then we got little moments like, you know, them sleeping closer to each other. And then we had the episode that scarred a lot of people. But, of course, you have moments like this. Blake being emotionally supportive for Yang. There's a part in the same episode where the curious cat attacks them, and Yang is so almost catatonic that Blake puts herself in between Yang and the blast and takes the full brunt of the blast. And this next one is something I'm so happy for, because for years we all talked about Yang dealing with all this on her own. like Volume 5, where she cried in the vault by herself over Raven. Like, she always had to handle things on her own. What could possibly be one of the most toughest times in her life, thinking she's lost the sister that she knew. She at least has Blake there to comfort her. And so that's one thing I definitely am glad they included, was Blake comforting Yang. Now, of course, I'm a dummy and completely forgot about the scene of them holding hands as they left the Ever After. But yeah, they left the Ever After holding hands as girlfriends, and as far as RWBY the show goes, that's where we're at. But we also have RWBY Justice League Part 2, which takes place after the events of Volume 9. And it didn't take long for things to go. Just... Yang is probably the only character I know that can do the finger gun and it actually look cool. Because it's kind of a cringy thing to do. But yeah, Blake opens the door. Yang winks at her and points at her.
It's one of my favorite things. She's...
Yeah, and she gives this cute little
just
blush.
Kicks it open.
Yeah. Gives this cute little blush because they are dating by the events of this. Now, there is a scene before this one. It's when they're still in their superhero looks, where RWBY and Yang are having an argument. And Yang is about to continue the argument until Blake puts her hand on Yang's shoulder. Yang takes a breath and calms down. So I kind of like that, Blake being the one to calm down Yang. Now, this was something else. So Kilgore possesses Yang, and everyone thinks that possessed Yang is hot. Like, that's kind of calling Kilgore hot. I don't know about that. But, at first, nobody really realizes it. But then Blake points her weapon at Yang and says, "You're not Yang." And Yang says, "Almost fooled you, didn't I?" And Blake's like, "You could never." And it's like, wow. Like, they've probably only been dating for, like, not even a month, but they know each other so well.
Like, it's more impactful, especially now with that, being canon and all that, how much more that is impactful saying that, so.
Yeah, it's like, you couldn't fool me by impersonating the girl that I'm literally in love with, So, I loved this scene. I thought it was amazing that Blake was able to tell right away. And then, of course, toward the end, we have our second Bumblebee kiss as they celebrate with the Justice League. And the thing is, Yang's the one up off her feet, and Blake's the one like, Yang seemed like, as strong as Yang is, you would think she'd be pretty heavy. So I'm kind of shocked that Blake can hold her up like that. But, Yang's got the little blush on her face. She's caressing Blake's face. It was the perfect way for that movie. Well, it's not exactly the ending, but it gave us our second kiss for Blake and Yang. And as of right now, sadly, that is where we're at. Because as anyone that watches will know, Rooster Teeth is shutting down soon. The future of RWBY is very unpredictable right now. Carrie swears up and down that he will finish it. He's in the talk with partners right now to continue RWBY. WB has put RWBY up for sale. Carrie was supposed to have met with some potential partners like a week ago. We don't know how that went. But hopefully we'll hear something very soon, because this story does need to be finished. Not just because of Bumblebee, but like this
in general.
In general, the story needs to continue.
There's so many things I have that's not Bumblebee that I need to know. Raven's one of them. And we need more of Best Boy.
Yeah. That's why he needs to come back full time. But yeah. that's really all we've got. Very brief, but if we went in detail, this would have been like a 3-4 hour live stream, and I don't think either Jess or me have the stamina for that yet. But oh, anything you want to add? Because we're live.
Well, I know we're live.
Well, I barely even used my notes. I mostly went off memory. But then again, as much as we've studied this ship, you really wouldn't think you'd need notes. So the moment we hear anything about the potential of RWBY going on, there will be a video about it. I'm going to continue the live streams because the current time that I have with work and all that, because after today I work 6 days straight. So live streaming is all I'm going to have time for unless I just find a really good. Plus, us still working on the room.
It's easier on me. Spring breaks have started here, so it's again why I'm stepping in tomorrow and having a different day off. It makes it a little easier because my job's very demanding.
Yeah, so it might be just live streams for a bit. And if there's something I want to talk about but don't want to bother Jess with editing and all that, I might just live stream a topic. I don't know. We'll see. But
we probably will do one last unboxing of everything that we've been able to snag from Rooster Teeth.
One last Rooster Teeth store haul. We've already got half of it. We're just waiting for the rest of it.
We've got 3 more boxes. One's already on the way. The other
3?
2. Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was only 1.
No, I got the case.
Oh. They did release a Bumbleby acrylic standee that apparently was labeled out of stock the moment it went up. So
it's not labeled. That's the thing. Like, I don't understand because there's like some sweatpants. There's a couple other things that were like, I'm guessing they're going through inventory and finding them and then listing them, but they're listed as to add to cart, but they're not sold out. But there's other things that say sold out, but those ones don't, so it doesn't make any sense. I don't know if somebody messed up or it's a glitch or what.
Alright guys, next live stream might be tomorrow night. I might do a quick 1 hour live stream after Honkai's maintenance is over, if I've got the times right. If I've got the times wrong, then there won't be a live stream tomorrow night. But Acheron goes live, so hopefully, please, fingers crossed, I pull her. But I'll do a live stream of me attempting to pull her. But we're going to sign off because we've got to get to bed and all that because we both got to work tomorrow. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed our History of Bumbleby live stream. This is Kanan.
This is Jesse.
We love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.